So this always excellent. बोले ढक्कड़ क्या ना recording हो रही YouTube में recording या recording sir now it is your turn.
Yes, maybe you can come here if this will come in the way. Okay. And still time, 2-3 minutes left. You can walk. Right. I'm all right. You should know what is right. Right. Check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. It's okay, please. Let you come. Yes. The permit will start. Maybe 1 minute left, but we'll start if you like. We were talking about, if I may continue, while going through this exercise of seeing and observing others, the heart should be seen intelligently, is what. And it should also be reminded, though we are seeing so much of variety, so many forms, so many individuals, should always be reminded of the unity, oneness. That's more important. Actually, for us, normally thinking more objects means more division. But behind the division, there is one unity, is what one has to keep always in the mind, the back of the mind. And we are looking at the unity, we're looking at the oneness, is what we should be conscious of. What we are supposed to look, and we should be conscious of that. We are always functioning from the center of the heart, where unity can be accessed or seen. So that is what is important. So look at the hearts of others intelligently. However much we see the forms, however much we see the various objects, we have to realize that oneness, recognize that oneness. There's no division which we are recognizing. We're only thinking in terms of oneness. The whole exercise which is given to us in this book is how we see that oneness. Every segment talks about this oneness. Radhaji is talking about the human nature and the way mind works. While seeing others, easily we'll see the dirt in others. We'll see the defects in others. And mind always focuses on the dirt in others, on the defects of others. That is what it does. So madam is saying, while seeing others, we'll see the dirt, that's the expression she has used, and mud in others, and immediately come to conclusion that the person whose face is greasy is an evil person. He has had a fall or whatever, there's mud around him or on him. But what the mind looks at is the defects, the mud or the dirt or the qualities which easily come up. There is an exercise which we used to do when we were in the personality development classes. There is a huge white board. The person goes and puts one dot and comes out. What do you see? Everybody talks about the dot. But there is huge portion of the whiteness which people will not recognize. So madam is saying, while seeing others, we'll see the dirt and mud in others. Mud means mitti in others, and immediately come to conclusion that the person whose face is greasy is an evil person or an ugly person. But if that person is looking at himself instead of looking at others, this is the exercise we have to do, she says. If that person is looking at himself, he will always give self-certification, saying that I'm good, I'm perfect. So he gives the self-certification to himself and finds all good about himself. Everything is good about me. The other person is wrong. So this is the nature of the human mind, says madam. And more than this, one wants others to recognize that I am great. Not only I form an image that I am great, but I also want others to recognize me and respect me as a great person. This is the nature of mind. This is the nature of mind. This is how the mind works. And I am someone worthy of adulation or paying a lot of respects. People should love me, is what I think. But you can't demand love. We know that. But then we do this. So observing oneself, there is one yardstick. Observing others, there is another yardstick. So this is what the nature of the mind madam is talking about. And this way of observing, this way of watching others and labeling a person will bring in further division. Labeling a person, I am someone who knows, like we have given an example sometime back, Bhagavad Gita from this page to the other page. So I'm an authority in Bhagavad Gita. So does that really mean anything to others? Me, I have an image. Oh, I know. But have I put the contents of the Bhagavad Gita or the oft repeated karmanyevadhikaraste? Have I understood that totally? Or I simply reel off because memory is very green and I keep talking about it, chant about it, quote about it. So this is the problem. All this which we are doing, observing and labeling a person, will bring in further division, she says. He is good, he is ugly, he is not good. All that is labeling. This expression again, labeling, is an expression which JK used a number of times. So the thought process of both Radhaji and Krishnaji is almost the same because truth is one. And this division will be a cause for actually increasing the evil. Evil is already there, but the division which we are doing, the division which our mind, lower mind is suggesting, that will increase the evil which is already in existence in the world. So are we working to remove the evil? Yesterday we saw the mystic star where we say we try to lift the heavy karma of the world. We are all working for that. That is supposed to be our work. But am I adding karma or working to remove the karma? The choice is ours after all. And like, people say, when you're at crossroads, there are two paths to go. The easier path is the path which is the path which people with shady character take quickly to reach the goal. But the other path which consists of bit of trouble, bit of exertion which is required for the individual, they don't take because it's tough. I will not go by this. Yesterday we talked about that example of the outer court, the book of Anne Besant, where there's a hill which you imagine. In Tirumala, when you go in the bus, you go around the hill and reach the top. But when somebody is walking, he walks like this. So walking up the hill is like this. So this is a choice one makes. So easier path normally takes us to the shady way of conducting oneself. Maybe if you take the previous example, the asura content increases because I am quickly wanting to get the results at the cost of others. At the cost of others. I want to displace others on the path and I reach the goal. So this is one way. The other way is going steadily up, exerting, carrying perhaps very little luggage so that I'm comfortable while climbing the hill and reach the goal. And Radhaji conducted this study class here, maybe the same study class. The book was The Outer Court, long time back. So this is what we are supposed to keep in mind. So the evil in the world is increasing because we are dividing further. What all is not to be divided, we have to integrate what we are dividing. So this is the real nature of the world and the nature of people who are living in the world. So these situations lead us eventually to class wars. The upper class or the lower class, the moneyed or the not having money, things like that. So many classes, the mind goes on dividing. So it leads to eventually to class wars, family disputes, and differentiations of various nature. Family, there is dispute a lot of times because of money involved or assets involved. So all this is the reason because we have had this evil increasing in us. And yes, we want a lion's share of the property because I'm taking care of the mother So I need more. But anyway, you have to take care of mother if she is there with you. But the person who is taking care of mother says, I'm taking care of mother, I need more money. This is something which happens in the world. This is just an example I gave. It happened in one of the families known to me. Radhaji says, human mind in general is same everywhere. Not just in India or America, everywhere is the same. Wanting to acquire for oneself, not wanting to share. This seems to be the order of the day. And so human mind in general is the same. Always dividing, always separating, distinguishing men based on caste, color, race, religion, and creed. Yesterday, somebody was saying in the train, Reddis have subclasses, they say. I didn't know. Reddis, I thought were one Reddis, that's all. But he says Reddy this, Reddy that, this Reddis will not marry, this Reddis. I was wondering, I was thinking Reddy is one, but that's not true. Some Reddis traveled along with us while we were coming here. They were coming to see Vishwanath. So, these creeds, the divisions within the caste. So she's saying, always dividing and separating, distinguishing men also means women, based on caste, color, race, religion, and creed. This nature of the mind is the mind where the lower mind is in operation fully. Lower mind has got these capacities to distinguish. This is the sadharan mind, which always thinks in terms of, I am right, the other person is wrong. So this is the lower mind. Whereas if you propel yourself to the next stage, there is unity. Boundlessness, unity, swachhata. Everything is there. But as long as you're in the lower mental, we're always dividing. So, Madam is saying that. So the lower mind distinguishes, compares, and separates. These distinctions being about the concept of I and you. What is the distinction? I am this, you are that. So this I is a mixture of so many descriptions which I have given to myself. The image building exercise which we talked about some time back. So the I is a mixture of so many descriptions. In a way, that's all conditioning, if you also can understand that way. I think I'm intelligent. I think I know everything. The minute I say I know, it stops. Those people will not give permission to receive further information or further knowledge or further wisdom. But this fellow says he knows. Why should I talk to him? You know that story of Uddhalaka and Swetaketu in Chandogya Upanishad. When that boy comes back after learning, father asks him, 12 years has spent in the school and has come back. He could have taught him, but he sent his to friend's place. He comes back and what is Atma? He reels out 23 slokas. Father says, this is not what I wanted. Have you learned what is? Then he's looking at the feet of the father and is crying. He says, go back to your teacher and find out what exactly it is. So he goes back and the teacher says, why have you come back? My father says, I've not learned the real thing. Then what the teacher tells him is to raise the cows which are there in the ashram. This is the one side of the story. Another story also is there of the father splitting, bringing a banyan tree fruit and asking him to split it. And he says, what do you see? He says, there's nothing. And that's it. You see nothing, that's it. But there is a small banyan seed, and this tree which has come out is because of that. That's what the father said. But still you go find out from the teacher. So the teacher gives this Swetaketu 400 cows. And he says, you come back when there are 1,000. This is Upanishad story, which our Dhruv Pandaji must be knowing better than me. And he comes back when it is 1,000. And people say there are 1,001 cows coming. Not 1,000, 1,001 cows are coming back. But this man has become so silent, so nice, so giving, like a cow. And when he gets back to the father, Father asks the question. He looks simply at the father's feet and is not able to say anything. That is real learning. People who learned, who realized, don't talk. Maunam Vyakhyana Prakatitam. We talked about it yesterday also. So this is what is the relevant thing which one has to do. But little knowledge is dangerous always. And Madam Blavatsky says, it is better you don't learn anything. The person who has not learned anything and not, he's perhaps better off than person who learned something and thinks he knows everything. This is the problem. So she mentions, we always think of our past memories and achievements and build an image of ourselves. And the study of theosophy, the wisdom, religion, as we talked about it yesterday, and by using the faculty of viveka, vichakshana, discretion, we should realize what is false, what is useless. These personality traits, are they useful for us elsewhere or they're useful here only? So this, they have to realize all about this temporary, transient things. We often talk about the personality in glowing terms, says Madam. And talking about the personality makes us believe we are that. That's the problem. We talk about it and we think we are that. If we live, we are that. But if we talk about it, do we become that? But that's the feeling it gets inside you. I'm talking about brotherhood day in and day out. So I'm talking, I'm not living, I'm talking. But this person thinks he is brotherly. But the real brotherhood person who is practicing brotherhood will not talk much about it, but will simply behave with a lot of concern, consideration, love, and compassion. So this is something which he is talking. And talking about the personality makes us believe. The other person was asking the question of belief system. Talking about the personality makes us believe we are that. Talking about love and compassion will not make us individuals as one whose hearts are filled with love and compassion. You know Dalai Lama, most of you must have heard him also. Dalai Lama was tortured by Chinese. Tortured. He said, I have only one fear. They're torturing, I'm able to take that suffering, but I'm afraid I may hate them. I may hate the Chinese. That's the level of compassion. Get my... Extraordinary, isn't it? He's torturing Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama says, I'm afraid I may hate them. This is the level of compassion one should have. That's the highest, of course, because he's almost personification of Buddhistic qualities. But we should try. There is a capital try in the master's letters. Try, T-R-Y. And it was interpreted as, I believe it's true, I also consider that as the fact, Taraka Raja Yoga. Taraka is which delivers you. Raja Yoga is all to do with your mind, the mental capabilities. Yoga is integrating all. So Taraka Raja Yoga is try. Masters write try. They don't say try, you will succeed. He has not written that. Just one try. So this is what Madam Ji is saying. This is a slide, if you can care to put it on. The conscious perception of one's personality, on earth is but an evanescent dream. The conscious perception of one's personality on earth is but an evanescent dream. So it's not real. But we consciously understand this is the reality. So she says, Master says, or letter number 16 of the Mahatma letters, The above is a quote from the letters to the masters, letter number 16. The conscious perception of one's personality on earth is but an evanescent dream. To give an ordinary example, what is evanescence? When you crack the soda, there are a lot of things which are escaping. Something is escaping. That is something like that. This personality will evaporate. It will not be there. It's not permanent. It will go away. But we think that's real. We're holding on to it. So Maya is, we think this is real. The fact is, it is not real. Kshara, Akshara. There are two names, two words. Kshara, Akshara. So Akshara is something which is permanent. Kshara is something which is dying. We hold on to Kshara and think that's permanent. That is Maya. And this slide, if it is there, if you're reading it, is from the Master's letter number 16. And now Radhaji says, many a times man makes the mistake of considering the illusory personality as the real self. Radhaji adds this. Radhaji says, many a times man makes the mistake of considering the illusory personality as the real self. She says, actually mind is also one. When Blavatsky said this, she is also saying this. Mind is also one. There is oneness even there if we can perceive. We can perceive only with the mind, the higher mind we say. So there is no my mind and your mind. This is interesting. We think my mind, his mind, her mind, nothing like that. So it's a process which mind passes through, and that action comes from that unified mind. The process which is going through, which mind passes through, the mind, there is no division actually. As we said, when we propel ourselves from the lower mental world to the higher mental world, there is extensive operation of the higher mind. So that has no division. It's only the more you see, the more it is expanding. So the process which mind passes through, and that action comes from one mind. So Radhaji quotes Madame Blavatsky, who opined or who stated that there is only one mind. I've said this already, but for the sake of emphasis, we'll say it again so that we remember. There are no minds separately as my mind or your mind. If you can get this into our understanding, I think it's a great thing. There's no my mind or your mind. This is interesting and very important information we should hold on to. We feel my mind is distinct from the mind of others. The fact is, there is unity in the higher mental plane. There is unity in the higher mental plane. So we have the knowledge. We have the knowledge. We know oneness is there, but we have realized it. That's a different question. We have the knowledge. We know the concept of oneness, but mind knows that only as knowledge. It acts sometimes with that knowledge. Most of the times, it doesn't act, so impulsiveness gets in. So we have studied yesterday that mere knowledge is not good enough. Even theosophical knowledge is not good enough. Just now we heard what Blavatsky said. Even if this person doesn't know but lives theosophically, he's more the person who is on the path rather than a person who knows a lot of facts. Or maybe he is someone who has mastered the secret doctrine. Doesn't matter. If there's still knowledge with him, it's not converted into wisdom or transformed himself to a wise person. So when the knowledge becomes wisdom, when the knowledge gets transformed the person into a wise person, knowledge becomes wisdom. We also heard yesterday, it becomes practical, it is useful, and that wisdom is bringing in the quantum change. Sampurna Badalava, if somebody wants to understand in Hindi. Sampurna Badalava. It's not just fragmentary badlava. Sampurna. Yeah. Total change. Revolutionary change. Mr. Krishnamurti used to talk about. Total revolutionary change means it should be complete change, not just I change for today and tomorrow I'm back to my original self. And next week, Wednesday, I'm coming for a lecture. I change. Oh, I decided that day I will change. No, not that way. So it is a complete change. So this is what Madam Ji is adding. There is only one universal mind. When the individual unit gets separated from the universal monad, when the individual self or individual unit, which is Atma Buddhi Manas again, that Manas is higher Manas, Atma Buddhi Manas, universal Atma, universal Buddhi, universal Manas, but that is getting separated from the universal monad. Bit of Atma, bit of Buddhi, bit of higher Manas, these are all part of the individual monad, or human monad as we call it. So this is how monad is a Greek term meaning consciousness or that unit. If you're looking at physically, so I'm using the word monad is a Greek term. So it is used very, very frequently in the theosophical literature. So we can also say human unit, universal consciousness. So even imagining the other person's heart is separate, because we want to see my heart is separate, his heart is separate, my mind is separate. From mind, if I always think in terms of mine, me, it is an illusion. We have described, we have given labels, names. This mind is good, this mind is not good. That way you went on labeling people. He's intelligent, he's not intelligent, he's a muff, he's a beautiful person who thinks right. All this is labeling, names. Actually, it is one universal mind and one universal consciousness. Life and consciousness, there's not much of separation, as Madam Anna Besant says in the book Study in Consciousness. So this is something which we need to keep in our minds. We often hear, this is another very interesting thing, a lot of people keep on repeating this, but this is an eye-opener. We often hear macrocosm, which is universe, microcosm, which is man. This is something which all of us keep talking. Macrocosm, microcosm, macrocosm, microcosm. See what she is saying. Both are components of one existence. Both are components of one existence. So there is no macrocosm, no microcosm. There's only one thing. Man is not able to comprehend the one existence. Reason being the finite means the one which is individual unit cannot measure the infinite. So that's the problem we have. So it was said, we can't conceive it in our mental capabilities. We can't even recognize it. Achintyam, agarhahyam, which we talked about some time back. So Proem draws reference to that while talking about oneness. Proem, again, what Madam Blavatsky has written in the first fundamental proposition, which we covered in the morning. So this one existence, which is omnipresent, which we talked about in the morning, in everything we see, this omnipresence is there in the ant, it's there in so many things. Everything, omnipresence is there. Author says wisdom lies in seeing everything without naming, and without a feeling that I know. Do you know the ant completely? You see an ant, but do you know the ant completely? No. But can you become an ant while observing? That's what Krishnamurti used to say. Krishnaji used to say, when we were all there at Vasanti Vihar, there's a huge mahogany tree there. Look at the tree, sir. People will turn back and look at the tree. That's not what you wanted people to see. But when you look at a tree, you should be completely merge yourself into that tree and become the tree. The grooves, the small scales which are coming out of the tree, the leaves which are there, the branches which are there. Can you completely see without any previous picture of the tree? You have seen mahogany even in Adyar. There's a whole avenue which has got mahogany trees. That is all right. But when you see a tree or when you see a rose, can you become that rose completely? That is what he wanted. So that is the change of realizing the oneness. You become one. You become one with that, which is looking obviously as a separate one. So that's the idea. And in Adyar, most of you would have seen the black insects with white dots in it, the red insects with a different black dots in it. The black one will have white dots, the red one will have the black dots. They keep moving on the road. And if we are not careful, we trample on them. So I don't know even the name of those insects. Somebody like maybe Shindeji, who's an expert in zoology, he may be knowing, but we don't know the names. But we see them moving in 4s and 6s numbers, and they confer. There is a conglomeration of those insects together as if they're in a meeting like this. So we wonder what's happening. Maybe they're communicating with each other. And I am moving on the road. Insects are conferring, I observe. And what moves in that insect is the same consciousness which is also there in me, which is moving in me. I am moving, the insects are also moving. The same consciousness is there, but am I aware of it? Am I aware that it's part of me, or the insect is part of me? I'm part of the insect. Can I identify like that? You see, that's an insect. Maybe I need to keep it off. There's so many snakes at Adyar, but not a single person has been ever affected by the presence of, or nobody was put into any difficulty because snakes were there. But they're there. We don't disturb them. They don't disturb us. So, but there was one person who was rearing a cheetah. I was a very small fellow. I went along with my grandfather to that Sri Shailam. It's a temple, hill temple. And this sannyasi had an ashram. So when we went there, we saw a cheetah walking. I went, hid myself behind my grandmother. That man was saying, no, it will not do anything. It will not do anything. Don't worry. And it came and slept at his feet. But if I don't know, that would hit me or injure me or throw the hand on me, I can love it. But since I have an experience or I have heard about it, because the previous night I heard there's a person who is sleeping on the water tank, cheetah attacks him and kills him. So that is there fresh in my mind. So when a cheetah is walking across, my God, cheetah is here. So that sannyasi told me, when you imagine that you're separate from cheetah, you're afraid. When you're imagining that you're separate from cheetah, you're afraid. When you are part of it, it doesn't do anything to you. It's a great statement I heard when I was 9-year-old, but very difficult at that point of time to understand the ramifications of that statement. But now when I understand, because I'm afraid, I'm seeing it separately, I'm afraid. If it is part of me, I'm not scared. Okay, maybe somebody else has done some mistake with it, and so it might attack me. That's a different story. It's part of my karma. That happens, yes, it happens. But I'm not scared. This is how one should look at the various, we call them beasts. We are beasts, isn't it? We have all the cruel qualifications to call ourselves beast. So, consciousness of that insect and what is there in me is same. We can't see, but we can perceive. This is what we read in the first segment of the Noble Truths, of 3 great truths. And we can perceive that oneness in nature, And we may look at the consciousness of the ant, how it collects the food, how it informs the other ants that there is food there. You must have seen that happening. And Radhaji says, the study of theosophy is not lying just in studying of the literature. She's not suggesting don't study. You have to be careful. She's saying the wisdom doesn't simply lie in studying the theosophical literature. It is more to do with the study of the book of life and nature. So we heard her saying, every molecule, every blade of grass is his consciousness is there. Blade of grass. We're walking on the grass. That the blade of grass also is thanks to his consciousness being there. So it's not good enough if we study the theosophical literature. For a minute, don't think yourself that you don't have to study the literature. But what is more required? It is more to do with the study of the book of life and nature. This is what she's saying. We need to develop and practice the ability to look within. This is something everybody has said. A lot of people have said. So we need to develop and practice the ability to look within with effortless ease. After some time, it becomes effortless. In the beginning, it is difficult. It goes everywhere. So we should know how to look at within, look within. Looking out is very easy. Looking out is very easy. Looking within, we should try, do the abhyasa, practice, and then we should be at a stage where we're doing it with effortless ease, concentration, or the name given to it as dharana by Madam in the book, dharana. It should become the natural way of traveling in. It should become the very natural way of traveling in. All other thoughts then will fall away. The only thought, the only stream which remains is to look within and realize that oneness. This is what she's saying. Right. Moving on, Radhaji says, theosophical life should lead us to altruism. If you have seen, if you have observed, the previous segment itself, she gives introduction to the next segment. So she's talking about, Radhaji says, theosophical life should lead us to altruism. Unless one is in love with humanity and in love with all life around you, in general, one cannot obtain wisdom, one cannot move towards altruism. Now she quotes from the Voice of the Silence to add strength to her statement. Have you got attuned or understood what is humanity's pain? This is an extract from the Voice of the Silence. Have you not got attuned or understood? Have you not got attuned or understood what is humanity's pain? If not, get attuned. How can one get wisdom without attuning? So when one sees duality in us, duality elsewhere, or diversity, one cannot see, one cannot be loving, one cannot be compassionate. So if there is duality in the heart, we cannot love. When one gets the glimpses of unity, one begins to care and love. One gets the glimpses of unity, we begin to care and love. Then, only then, he can find a way out of sorrow. Way out of sorrow. She says they're connected. Love, the care you see, the care you give or take in helping others, that will relieve you of the sorrow which you personally have. In serving others, you forget your sorrow. So, if you get the glimpses of the unity, one begins to care and love, then he can find a way out of sorrow. Sorrow and evil are part of the psychological state of man. Lord Buddha, Madam quotes, said Man should understand the first truth. Madam quotes Lord Buddha, says, man should understand the first truth, which is sorrow. Trying to understand the roots of sorrow, one commences acquiring self-knowledge. Trying to understand the roots of sorrow, one commences acquiring self-knowledge. So our self-inquiry is not to find solutions for individual problems, because we have, in a way, realized unity, if we have realized. So our self-inquiry is not to find solutions for individual problems and difficulties and pursue our selfish aims, because they will not take us anywhere. They will not take us to the doors of wisdom. So our self-inquiry is to not find solutions for individual problems and difficulties. So this is something which you have to note. Self-inquiry is to release the entire humanity's sorrow. Buddha did that. So many others did that. We talk of Ramana, we talk of Krishna Ji. Krishna Ji said once, I'll relieve you of all the difficulties and sorrow. But people thought, yes, there is going to give a small capsule or something which you can gulp it and we'll be out of sorrow. It's not that. We should understand the nature of sorrow and perhaps move away from it, because it's part of us. So we should know what it is. So that's what he meant. And she says, think of humanity as a whole. Then the wisdom will work for the benefit of all. Wisdom which you have acquired, if it has to help all others, you have to think of humanity as a whole. I have got wisdom, I have occupied a seat somewhere 10 feet above. It's not going to help the humanity. So the wisdom which I've acquired should help the humanity in general, and then that wisdom will be a source of relief. It will give relief. And she says, this is her theme, which was very common in that human regeneration book, which she gave, which was printed as a book, lectures given at Norden. Selfishness should not show its ugly head. Selfishness should not show its ugly head. Wisdom, if obtained by those who work or work for all, that wisdom should work for the entire humanity. So selfishness should not be there. I am selfishly holding the wisdom to myself. It's not going to help anyone, even me. So wisdom is obtained by those who will work for the welfare of humanity. So only such people will get wisdom. If I am very possessive, selfish, I may not reach the doors of wisdom. Rajaji quotes the Mahatma's letters number 2 and says how man's highest aspirations are tainted with selfishness. How man's highest aspirations are tainted with selfishness. Working, seeking benefit for oneself should end. Working, seeking benefit for oneself should end. Elsewhere, she said once, we stop seeking, we'll arrive. We keep seeking, I want this, I want that, I want something else. I have an ordinary car, I need an automatic car, something like that. Something is going on. We keep on seeking. Even for that matter, maybe I've arrived here, I have to be something else. I'm only at a bottom stage of the spiritual life. I need, even that is a problem. If you are deserving, not just desiring, as we talked yesterday, if you are deserving, you will reach. But if you simply desire, you will not go anywhere. But those persons who desire, somehow want to achieve, they are perhaps the people who are going the shady way, the Asura way. This completes this session or this segment of sense, the oneness in nature. We still have time. I'll move into the next. We'll introduce at least the basic concepts there. The next heading, which is there in the book, is altruism is yoga. Altruism is yoga. I don't know what the federation said. I'm just my personal opinion. What they meant by yoga and meditation classes. Yoga, are you talking about just Hatha Yoga? Or yoga, the convergence of the body and the soul? Or I'm a qualified yoga teacher. That means I know all the asanas, 108 asanas. But does it make me a yogi? Hatha Yoga is only one component of it. So she says altruism is yoga. Oh, sound. If you read it, I produce the sound of the pages. I made notes because I shouldn't miss a point which is relevant to be noted by me first and relevant to be noted by others also along with. Yes. I keep moving the other side, I guess. Radhaji continues to say that to see sorrow, understand the sorrow, means actually understanding the condition of humanity, which is suffering for millions of years, not just 100 years back or 200 years back. Radhaji continues to say that to see sorrow, to understand sorrow, means actually understanding the condition of humanity, which is suffering for millions of years. So suffering was part of life. And someone having a keen, ardent desire to support, guide, she calls humanity as great orphan. So someone who has got a keen, ardent desire to support, guide the great orphan of humanity, they should have the ability to see the sorrow. Sorrow is there, but do I recognize it? Or I close my eyes to it? I look towards maybe pleasure to escape from sorrow. There are degrees: pleasure, joy, bliss. Pleasure I seek, the minute I finish getting it, it's gone. Joy remains for some time. Oh, that was joyous moment. I went and stayed at Varanasi, even though there were some difficulties, water not being there, for example. Still joyous. Weather was good, lovely. People were good. But bliss, that state is something which, whenever you get in touch with that, is always there. It is part of you. So, this understanding of sorrow will be able to take care of this great orphan, which is humanity. Humanity is not being cared for. So, if somebody who can see the sorrow, like Buddha saw the sorrow, maybe his disciples, a couple of them also saw the nature of sorrow. And Krishna ji has talked a number of times as to observe sorrow. Don't escape from sorrow. Observe sorrow. So if you see completely what is sorrow, perhaps then you know how to take it, how to bear with it, how to move along with it. So this is that. And the suffering of the entire humanity, is huge and humongous. Very huge. Suffering is so huge, enormous. It is all pervasive. Everywhere you see, wherever you want to see, there is sorrow. Still, the experiencer knows it is suffering. The onlooker is not totally suffering to the extent the experiencer is suffering. It's very easy to understand this. The one who is going through, the simple example people give in the ordinary parlance, I have a toothache, I know what it is. But you can not realize what my toothache is. I'm suffering. You don't know that. Something very similar to it. So the experience knows, experiencer means person who is going through the sorrowful moments. He knows what it means to suffer. The onlooker is not totally or entirely suffering. And the suffering the other person is undergoing, you'll not be able to realize. Because why? I'm considering myself as separate from the other person. If the suffering is happening to someone very close to my family, kith and kin of my family, to some extent, I'm aware of the suffering he's going through or she is going through. But if it is a suffering my neighbor is going through, am I aware of it? Am I aware of it? Not always. Oh, he's got a problem. That's it. More than that. So there used to be a boy who used to serve me food when I was working as the chief of one factory at Visakhapatnam. He used to say, the minute I go back, my father keeps crying, saying that I've got pains all over. He worked standing near machinery, worked all through his life standing. So he has got varicose veins and so many problems. And so his legs keep paining. And this fellow says, he's always crying, I don't want to go home. I told him, yes, he's crying all right, but go sit with him, along with him, near him, and say, can I apply some oil or balm, or can I press your feet for some time? Show love, show affection to your father. Is it possible? It's not going to cost you anything. The boy said, yes, I will do. And then after a week or 10 days, he comes, sir, my father is not crying now. He's looking forward when I'll come back from office. So this is the practicality of the wisdom. We can do it, but we don't do it because we have no intention to convert the wisdom into action. So this realizing the suffering of others, suffering of humanity is something which we should do. Radhaji is stating that true altruism is different from just wanting to help. True altruism is different from just wanting to help. Sometimes I want to help others because I want the other person to remember me that I helped that person. Next time, perhaps he sees me, sir, you helped me that day. That's perhaps what I expect out of him. But the altruist doesn't expect that. He has done it and has walked away from it. So altruism is different from just wanting to help. Truly, altruistic work or action means, truly, altruistic work and action means doing nishkama karma. I don't get attached to it. I'm doing it because it is something minimum which is expected out of me, and I do it. There's an information, there's a story which I read, not story, actual happening which is it. There are oak trees, number of oak trees which are there in a forest. And a woodcutter, a person who makes business out of oak, he has cut some trees and taken away. So there are only stumps there, means the remnants of the trunks which are there. And there are other trees which are yet to be cut. Maybe he will cut later on, we do not know, but they're all living. So these stumps decide whatever the water they get from under the earth, they will transfer it to those trees. Let them live. Anyway, I'm gone. See how the vegetable kingdom thinks. The trunks of the tree whose branches are cut off. they realize they don't need water. The water which they are getting, they can transfer to other plants which can thrive. So this is something which happens at that level naturally. But does it happen with us naturally is the point. We need to consider that. Can it be nishkama karma or karma with kama? Kama is a desire to be noted, noticed. Help someone with nil expectations and no expectations. Radhaji calls that as karma yoga. Not the karma which would I breathe, so I'm doing karma is some people who talk in the lectures about, you're doing karma all the time, you're breathing, that's karma. That's not the karma which one should talk about. Madam says, Radhaji calls that nishkama karma as karma yoga. The person helping will not suffer from vanity or a feeling of pride that I could help somebody. So that altruist is someone who will feel like that. Oh, I have helped that person. I'm proud of that. No, he has helped. If not me, somebody else would have helped. So the person helping will not suffer with vanity. Vanity is pride, another name for pride. It's all empty inside, but then I feel, oh, I'm a great person. That is vanity, actually. Or feeling of pride that I could help somebody. If the person who is receiving from you is not there, how can you give? If the person who is receiving is not there, how can you give? There are some people who wait to feed somebody and then start eating their lunch. Good old days, that used to happen. At least give food to one atithi, one guest who comes, and then take your food. If suppose he doesn't come, to whom you will give? So to do help, the other person is more important. The person receiving is more important. Having given it, this person should forget, I've given. There's a small story. It will take 1 minute to 2 minutes. Before 12, I'll finish it. There was a king who gave a very costly shawl, or a pattu vastra, as we call, silk garment, to a poet who rendered poetry in the darbar. That poet was walking out of the mahal and he saw a beggar shivering with cold. So he gave this to him, covered with him, and then walked away. But the king, who noticed the beggar having that costly shawl, asked the Pandit the next day, I gave it with so carefulness. I went and searched for that garment and gave you, and you've given it to that person. This Pandit says, as long as it was with you, it was yours. You gave it to me, it's gone. You shouldn't think of it. I've given it to somebody. It's no longer yours. Why do you say I've searched everywhere and gave it to you? So this is how one should understand how one should help. It should become an automatic process, not a thoughtful process. I want to give this person a pair of slippers. I saw a video just the other day. There's a girl who is going, most of you must have seen it, these are all things which are coming in the, selling on the road something for people to buy. Nearer the cars she's going. And nobody's buying. She is perhaps starving. She is also in the sunlight. Her feet are burning. There's one person who hides a pair of slippers behind him and walks nearer to her. And she says, can you buy this? No, before that, I want to give you this. He gives a pair of slippers. She's extremely happy. I'm saying how you do it matters most. Not that what you do, how you do. Not that he wanted somebody to notice. Somebody has taken photograph already. That's a different matter. But a person who helps doesn't want a photograph, doesn't want a memory that I've helped somebody. But unfortunately, to report the activities, maybe we take photographs. We helped so many patients. We gave fruits to so many patients. We gave woolen clothes to so many people. All these photographs are appearing in the report. But the real person who just gives gives and walks away, like the Pandit gave. So this is how altruism works. So if the person who is seeking help is not there, how can one help? So in fact, he is helping you by receiving from you. By receiving from you, he is helping you. This is what we need to understand. And Sri Ramji used to say, and Sri Ram is president of the International Theosophical Society and father of Madam Radhaji, he used to say, study class or conferences are Gnana Yagnas. If people who are listening are not there, how can the Gnana Yagna be done? So both are required. In fact, they are required than the person who talks. This fellow can go on buck, but if they are not there, what is the point? So similarly, if I can give and forget and walk away, that's the way altruism should be practiced. The trees knows that oak trees who I talked about, they knew, perhaps the animals knew. The minerals also knew. Man, because he's individualistic, he feels he's separate, he's not able to do. This is the problem we have, the human problem we have. We'll meet after the lunch. It's 12 now. I will leave it for Pradeep ji for his, oh, now still time? I don't know. 12 or 12:30? Oh, yes, you can ask questions. Yes. We will spend some time in questions. Yes. Because study, discussions, and meditation is the program given. We can ask. That is given in the program. You tell me, what is your way of meditation? Bro, see, we used to observe some time in silence, reflecting within ourselves. So that period where one doesn't do anything other than looking within, that is meditative moments. So we were supposed to do that. We can do that maybe in the evening or in the morning, even here as a group, because the effect of group meditating is different. Suppose we think in terms of meditating and send our good thoughts to the place where the war is going on. There are two places perhaps where the war is going on, between Russia and the other country, and Palestine and other people, the Israelis. Israelis have usurped, occupied Palestinian property, if you know the history. But then they're throwing bombs at them. This is how life is. Selfishness, that's the reason for this also. War is because of the selfishness. I want to occupy the other place. Alexander came like that. He wanted to be noticed as the greatest emperor. But then when he saw people here in India, he said, please keep my hands outside my box, the coffin, and then put me in. Yes, anyone, if you want to ask questions, we can perhaps go discussing. Maybe discussions is the way. Hmm. Altruism, yeah, altruism.
That it is a kind of condition that happened at that time and what the decisions were taken and the things happened. That is a kind of simple story. And it's second, another incident that I'm it is
Yeah, I heard the question now. I also heard the question at the beginning. I will just say one thing. There is a reference to Pariprashna in Bhagavad Gita. Pariprashna is something which is asked at the appropriate time, the appropriate subject, and this is regarding yoga, so is right question. So, yoga equilibrium. Equilibrium is samastiti, a stage or a result or reaching a particular stage after I meditate. I begin with dharana, I meditate, and I reach a state of that samastiti or equilibrium. I don't even call it equilibrium. It's a external term to call it equilibrium, but then it's a feeling of fullness. There's nothing moves inside me. It's absolutely, I'm filled with that sort of a feeling. That is perhaps equilibrium. But yoga is bringing two things together. Normally, the external, the body and the spirit, they come together. So that is the conjunction of the external and the internal, and the merger of the external and the internal, or the soul merging with the universal. All these conjunctions are called, or all these coming togethers are called yoga. And Bhagavad Gita gives one beautiful small statement, yoga karmasu kaushalam. Skillful action is yoga. Whatever action you do skillfully doesn't mean you are cheating others, but skillful action means action which helps everybody, helps the humanity. So, yoga karmasu kaushalam. So, if body and soul are coming together, if I am doing work for the sake of humanity, if I'm reaching the stage of equilibrium, from that equilibrium state, I'm thinking in terms of helping all others without thinking of myself or what results I will get, what rewards I will get. That's a state. But if I think, oh yes, why should I be doing? I've done all this hard work. I've reached the stage of equilibrium. Why should I be sharing all this? That's another way of looking at things. So this skillful action which is required of a person, because the entire thing is yoga, karma, kaushalam. So if this is not kept in mind, and as I told, I think Vibhaji in the morning, she would take so many steps to see that she would not do anything unskillfully, even if it is folding of paper. One day she was holding the hand like this and sitting in the chair in the headquarters hall. I was wondering why she was doing this. And I went and asked her, can I hold it for you? No, no, no. I'm trying to draw the attention of a person who is coming into the hall. So she is holding it like this. She says, this is part of my job. I'll do. She was holding it like this. And that person came and, yes, I'm looking for you. Please take it. So anything which she does, the way the 9-yard sari she would wear on special occasions, it had skill about it, it had precision about it, it had everything about it which was perfect and beautiful. So that is yoga. Anything you do, even if you fold a paper, even if a waste paper is being rolled into a ball and put into the box, you should know how to do it. And not just put that like that. Because that has got some atoms, as we discussed yesterday. Like the chair has got atoms. When the paper we are destroying, it is also suffering. So can I do and put it there, or put it in the shredder? Because something which is very secretive, it is put in the shredder and that cuts it. So all this, we should know how to do this action, which is skillfully. Equilibrium is a state which one arrives after dharana, after meditation. So that is the state of samasthiti, where everything seems to be one. And there's no imbalance there. There's no imbalance there. Everything is balanced. So that's perhaps what she was thinking. But there's a story of Blavatsky, which you must have all heard number of times. She was looking at a family, mother and 2 children suffering, and how she converted her first-class ticket to third-class ticket and took them in to the ship, because that family got cheated by the travel agent. But she was so quick, and she didn't want any, oh yeah, she just met them there, and she suffered the entire journey with water coming onto the room and all that. She took it all. So once you decide that I will give, there could be some difficulty, but no question of, why did I give? I should have kept it for myself. No thinking like that. So that is altruism. I think I've tried. దగ్గరికి రండి. Expert from Guntur, Krishnaji. Guru. Yeah, we have gurus which are not seen externally, We have been going in one direction. That's a groove. The tree has grooves. The wood has grooves. Like that, we also have grooves within us. I have been wherever it is, not in the higher mind, but the lower mind, it has a lot of grooves. I like this particular thing, and I will keep walking in that. That's a groove. So if somebody disturbs that, I'm worried. Array, why is he doing this? So that groove is something which I have drawn myself. I have drawn that groove. So I continue to carry on in that groove. And I think it's comfortable to be in that groove. Maybe it causes discomfort to others, but I care less. I want to be comfortable. So that groove is helping me. So these are the grooves which we don't see them. They're all there inside. Groove. We have created, we can wipe it away. We can wipe it away. If you like, you want to. I want to celebrate. You have to do it. I can't tell it. You have to realize it is required or not required. You should know that groove which I have formed, which I have drawn within myself, is it required or not required? Does it help me? Does it help others? See, everything, if you look from the point of view of helping others, then perhaps you will not hold on to something which is personal. I am holding on something personal, and I think that groove is something which I like. But does everybody is comfortable with that groove which is there within me? If that is the case, let me hold it. But if that's not the case, let me understand it, remove it. So we can understand, remove anything. Understand, remove anything. Yes, that's the only way. Yes, anything. Yes. Please, anything. But as far as removing a quality, negative quality is concerned, what Madam Magnificent said is, you removed it, but don't keep that place vacant, because it will gather strength and come back. So instead of leaving it vacant, what you do is put a different positive quality there. I have hatred, I have observed it, removed it, or I have jealousy, I have removed it, put the positive quality in its place. Put love in that place which is vacated, or which is actually removed, like a weed has been removed from the crop. A lot of weeds are there. The riots go, and the agriculturist goes and removes the weeds, because it will not help the main tree to grow or the main plant to grow. Rice will not come. So he removes the weeds. This removal of weeds is a continuous process, is what Madam Blavatsky says. Removing the weeds is not one-day task. It's a continuous task, is what Madam Blavatsky says. So it's not, I do it today and after the next season, maybe after 3 months I do it. No. That's why she prescribed that, what she learned from Pythagorean school. End of the day, I remove what all is not required. Remove it completely from the roots, and then move. So that way you can shape yourself. Nobody can shape you. A lot of times we think, this guru has helped me, that guru has helped me. No. Even if you're shown the path, he's not going to make you hold your hand and make you cross the rivulet or river. You have to cross. He will only say, this is the way to go. But who has to do it? I have to do it. So this process, the gurus say sometimes, don't bother, surrender to me, just listen to me, you'll be delivered. But because I don't want to think, I don't want to do anything on my own, I surrender and say, yes, he will take me. That's not true. If I go to a pravachan, am I delivered? Or there is something which is taught about dharma, and I practice the dharma, I'm delivered. Either the two, what is correct? The person who's preaching dharma is telling me, say, for example, just listen to me, you're delivered, you're finished. Nothing unwanted remains in you. Does it matter? Does it really come that way? No. I have to work. Dharma means I have to walk in that righteous path. then it is dharma. Satyan nasti paro dharmaha is the motto we have, which is picked up from Shanti Parva Mahabharata. And the founders saw that in the Benares King's palace, and they said, we'll take it. And it has become loosely translated, there is no religion higher than truth. It does not mean the religion which we are talking about. There's no dharma. Truth is ultimate. But the truth consists so many things. Though one might say truth means satya, but truth consists of so many things. It is compassion, it is love, it is consideration for others. So many things are combined in that one word called truth. But we think literally understanding truth means not to speak a lie. Okay, not to speak a lie is a good thing. But truth means, if you totally think about it, it's so many things rolled into one. That's why that particular statement, Satyam Nasti Paro Dharmaha, even if you read the commentaries on Mahabharata, it gives so many details. But we understand Satya as the ability not to utter a lie. No, that is one aspect of it. You want to make a statement? No question. Make a statement. You see, this is also a discussion. Make a statement. I don't think I should correct you. You should know if it's correct. No, no, no. I'll tell you. If you're making a statement, you should know it's correct and you should utter the statement. If you think there is a doubt, you should not say it. No, no. If you have a doubt that it may not be right, don't say it. If you think it's right, say it. So nobody to correct you. Nobody will correct you. You have to correct yourself. That's the problem. Hmm. Madam most. But Madam Radhaji used this expression to explain actually altruism. Altruism is to do that action without caring for recognition or results or anything like that. So there she used karma yoga. She said it is karma yoga. And then maybe another person could have added a lot of things along with the commentary of yoga, karma, kaushalam. She could have said right action, not just any action. Right action. Right action means so many things rolled into that. So it goes on. The more we meditate on it, the more we think on it, the more we contemplate it, there's so many layers of meanings will come. So this is how we have to understand. And each understanding, we keep it, reflect on it. Maybe if you want to note down, put it into a notebook and reflect on it. That's the way to go forward. So yoga, karma yoga is what she said is altruism. We're going to continue that in the afternoon. Altruism, she's talking about altruism is yoga. Altruism is not something which is very well defined again. We know what altruism is, but who has done work like that? That's the most important thing. Who has done the work like that? Like, for example, those stumps of the trees have given water to the other trees, not really wanting to know whether they will live or not live, have given. That's the way which it went. So when Harshvardhan ji talked about equilibrium, I think he got the idea, samatva. Otherwise, equilibrium was not mentioned, samatva he wouldn't have started with. Because he talked about equilibrium, he came on to samatva. But then, chittavritti nirodha is the second sutra, not the first sutra. So how do you do it? Again, like that madam asked, how do you wipe off the groove? The individual has to do it. The mind has got the capability to go everywhere and anywhere. So I should know by practicing dharana, focusing, how I will remove it. So that is one definition which Patanjali gave. Shall we meet after the lunch? On the online, huh? Oh God. No. You have a free will or a conditioned will is your way of looking at it. One's own way of looking at it. I think I have free will in the sense I can choose what I want to be. I can choose what I would like to speak. I can choose what I want to act. That in a way is free will. I don't know in which connotation he is using that free will. A lot of people use free will differently, reading some of the books. So free will, from this point of view in which I am understanding, I choose what to do, and whatever I do, is it for my selfish upliftment or it works for others? It also works for others, it's something which I should do. If it only works for me, I should not be doing it. This is the yardstick or the measure for discriminating what I do. So, can we think like this and act? People say, a lot of wise people say, contemplative living is possible. Contemplative living is possible. Impulsive living also is possible. But contemplative living is something which we understand and live through abhyasa. You get it? Like I gave an example of the car. In the beginning, I was only holding on to the steering and looking at the road. But now I look at everything, talk to my wife, talk to the billboards, and see the billboards, and talk to somebody who is honking more. All this I'm able to do. But in the first few months or few years even, I was holding on to the steering as if I will go away, blown away with if I'm leaving the steering. But now I leave the steering. And she said, hey, where will you? I do not go anywhere. This is what it is. We'll close for the lunch session. Lunch we'll go and have, and then we'll come back at 3. Maybe, yes, there is time for you to rest. And I wish these people, yes, maybe he will announce some things here.